It's time to set the record straight. The stuff you hear in the news about price hikes at the grocery store or gas station is just plain wrong.
Inflation is raging!
Inflation in the United States soaring to its highest level in 4 decades.
And you've likely noticed just about everything costs more now, from the grocery store to the gas pump.
Gas prices are bananas.
You hear in the news that pandemic, war, and supply chain are all to blame for inflation, and that is partially true. But really, those things provide the perfect smokescreen for companies to hike their prices big time. Let's unpack 3 myths about inflation. First up, when it comes to price hikes, big companies want you to believe that they are sharing the pain with you, the consumer. You're in this together. So when you go to the supermarket and notice a steeper price tag on necessities like milk, cereal, diapers, and meat, you assume that, well, if the store is spending more to bring you these goods, it's understandable that they'd ask you to pay a little more for them, right? Wrong. The stores are going for even more, bringing in record profits as a result. From Kroger to Hershey to Tyson, companies in all sorts of industries are seeing record profits. Tyson nearly doubled its profits over the last year, not because they're selling more, but because they're charging a ton more. Executives have been bragging to shareholders about how they're using inflation to their advantage. CEOs of gas companies like ExxonMobil and Chevron brag to their shareholders about prioritizing big profits for them over keeping prices stable for consumers. It's all code for let's hide behind inflation to hike up our prices and make a fatter profit. These CEOs and their money-grubbing investors want you to think they're sharing inflationary pain. All the while, they're laughing behind your back. Another pervasive myth is that the market will correct price gouging on its own. Now, this myth assumes that if a company overcharges on a product, the customer will just go across the street and buy it over there. But what happens when the same company owns both sides of the street? You may think that the inflation happening today is following the same old pattern we saw in the 1970s, but the playing field has totally changed since the 1970s due to the insane corporate consolidation. Comparing today to the 1970s is like comparing apples to oranges or dance fever to TikTok. For years, giant companies have gobbled up their competitors for a bigger share of the pie. And as a result, they can now control things like pricing without any fear that their consumers would go across the street for a cheaper price because they own both sides of the street. Take the meat industry. In 1977, the 4 biggest beef packing firms had control of 25% of the market. Today, they control 82% of the market. The fewer the firms in an industry, the easier it is for them to collude and to fix prices. Which brings me to our final myth. There are enough rules in place to prevent price gouging in the first place. Nope, not even close on that one. Big corporations are pulling the strings. It's their puppet show, and we're just living in it. We need to rein in this problem because capitalism without rules is theft. The Federal Trade Commission is mandated to promote competition and to protect consumers, but it's unable to enforce these laws because of a lack of resources. So my Price Gouging Prevention Act will fund the FTC, giving it the power it needs to investigate excessive prices during market shocks to stop corporations from squeezing American families in difficult times. It will also require public companies to be transparent about their pricing strategies so they can't hide their price increases behind inflation. My bill will give Americans protection from greedy corporations. And I say, it's time to get this done.